Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshidi6 and this is Touhou Koukishin. Last time, the young mistress threw a massive tantrum, so we had to discipline her. The big question now is, what did conquering the labyrinth even achieve? The answer? We can go to the Scarlet Devil Mansion's foyer, where a strange sparkling object has randomly appeared. What could it be for? Excuse me? Flandre flashback event? At least they're giving us a choice. Let's see what this is all about. So far, it looks like a film noir. Gensokyo Blanca maybe? No, there is no romantic subplot in Touhou Koukishin. Instead, we focus on Flandre, who wasn't present during the destruction of the mansion, it seems. She finds the place abandoned and so decides to do her own investigation. She has nothing better to do anyway. And so, we remove the filter that guarantees Oscars and become Flandre. Yes, Flandre at level 99 with her 8,000 hit points. Just when you thought this game had fired the very last of its ammunition, it continues to surprise and amaze. Let's get straight to the point. Flandre is hilariously overpowered. To my knowledge, it is not possible to unlock a campaign for her. She can only ever be controlled during this interlude. It is nothing to be too sad about, as our time with her will be enough to make our day, I assure you. We'll go over her playstyle shortly, but for now, let's reminisce about when we first explored this place, all the way back in episode 1. There was an area that served no purpose, but I gave it considerable mention in my commentary. That is where we are going, where we are floating down to. Just like Remilia, Flandre can slow her fall with the help of the Christmas decorations on her back that she calls wings. This time, we get a transition at the basement. This looks familiar. It is once again the labyrinth, Flandre's realm, right? We should doubt that actually, as she seems very confused by her surroundings. We regain control at the 9th sublevel, just one section before we met Patchouli as Sakuya. The game skipped everything before that for us, so enemies will be level 50 now. That sounded imposing once, but for Flandre, this means nothing. All those critters we see here, we just make them go pop, and then there were none. So, about what Flandre can do in detail. Her standard attack is the untransformed Levitain. She hits hard and sports an impressively wide swing with it. As an insignificant downside, the moveset only chains into 3 attacks, 2 less than Sakuya's. Apart from that, Flandre also possesses 3 skills and 2 spell cards. The skills are Break Shot, which we do not have equipped at the moment, we'll be using it later, Multi-Shot, and also the transformed state of the Levitain. Our current spell card is Taboo, 4 of a kind, and we also have Forbidden Games in store. That's what Touhou Koukishin calls its variant of Forbidden Barrage. Multi-Shot is the flurry of small knives right there. We've seen it a couple of times. Multi-Shot is a rather weak skill that you only use for its efficiency. It is cheap and you can quickly get rid of insignificant enemies like fairies and wolves with it, but it is kind of worthless against knights, for example. For those, you want the Levitain skill. Flandre's Levitate is slightly different from the weapon unique skill you can give your protagonist by equipping a Demon Blade Levitate. For once, it costs a little less to use, 5 skill diamonds. It also has a considerable delay before Flandre swings it. Due to its amazing power, it is excellent nonetheless. The weapon unique skill Levitate in comparison triggers almost instantly on the button press. 2 episodes ago, I said that one cost 8 skill diamonds. I need to correct myself, it is only 6. Still a hefty number. Should have double checked back then, but I hope it's alright now. So much for her skills. We'll go over Flandre's spell cards later. By the way, the attack that looks like Sakuya's Dryad effect, that is not a skill, it is only the 3rd strike in Flandre's standard attack chain. It is very practical, however. There's something glaring that I've ignored for too long. It's the minimap, or the lack of it. Sakuya was a formidable pathfinder, but Flandre isn't. She does not know her way around. Could this actually not be her basement after all? Being mapless should only be a small inconvenience. Remember, we have a whole 18 sublevels worth of experience with this kind of map. Make that 19, because the end of this one is right here. The exit will lead us to another familiar sight. It's hard to tell from here, but as soon as we take a few steps forward, we'll once again find ourselves in the wondrous universe room. Old stuff, but something is different about the mecha you might notice. Once we're done configuring, we'll inspect it. Right, said mecha seems to be under construction at the moment. The head and left arm are missing. Well, she may not be Patchouli, but maybe Big Sister can help Flandre too. Will she really? If you remember, between the destruction of the mansion and episode 5, Remilia was supposed to be trapped in the library archives. If she was honest with us, that is. Instead, she might have been creating war machines within the labyrinth. That and playing with her sister. She doesn't exactly want to play with us, but we don't care. There is no refusing Flandre. There just isn't. And she's using what can only be called mafia methods to get what she wants. With that, it starts. The most interesting thing about this fight is that Remilia only uses attacks you would have at your disposal when playing as her. That includes her default spell card, Miserable Fate. She will use it in a second, right there. If you are somewhat familiar with how Remilia plays, little will surprise you here. And if you're not, well, it doesn't make that much difference. The encounter is not really designed to be challenging. If anything, it just emphasizes the power trip Flandre's flashback has been giving us. If our gameplay here seems a little sloppy, that's because I was never given incentive to even learn the ins and outs of the fight. It's so easy, you would probably win even if you just spam the Levitate all the time. We are almost done already. I have an interesting hunch that I wasn't able to confirm yet. I believe your opponent at this point here will always be the protagonist you didn't choose. I can't say this for sure, as I haven't played through the labyrinth as Remilia yet, but had she been the hero of our quest, I think Sakuya would have been waiting for us. Otherwise, I can't see how the story of the game wouldn't contradict itself. Once again, Flandre skips several floors for us. Remilia didn't help us out at all. Maybe someone more reliable can be found somewhere in the labyrinth. If not, Flandre will have to spend the rest of her days down here, I guess. It's not like she couldn't sustain herself by just feeding on all the fairies living here. Remilia and Flandre supposedly need to drink so little that they never actually have to murder anyone. That's one way to make vampires somewhat toothless. They are literally as terrifying as a blood donation. To be fair, there is a phobia for shots. Some people freak out just from the thought of them. Anyway, we've arrived at the 19th sublevel, just like we did in the previous episode. Since the enemies are level 60 and no longer as feeble, we've exchanged multi-shot with break shot, a more direct 3-way ranged attack that has a little bit more punch behind it. We already used it during the Remilia fight. A good move, perhaps a little bit inaccurate at times. We also tested forbidden games in the boss fight. It's hard to say which of Flandre's spell cards is the more effective one and when. The two are not so radically different in nature that you can assign a definite purpose for each. I use 4 of a kind for any stage portions, as I feel it reaches a little bit further, while maybe being slightly weaker, I think. In that situation, I bet both spells would have gotten the job done. By the way, you might have noticed we haven't been getting any new equipment here. Flandre can never find or equip any gear. There's not even an option in the pause menu anymore. You also won't level up. Level 99 is the true maximum. That Ankakaspa cuts down so hard on the RPG elements for Flandre is perfectly alright in my book. If you think about it, there's no need to overcomplicate this part of the game. It's all about having fun and going wild as your new powerhouse of a character. And I believe it works. Being the crazy, evil, and oh so murderous Flandre is a pleasant distraction. You know, this kind of portrayal has earned her a very strange standing in the fandom. Many people really dig her character, to the point where she is their favorite. But there are also those who roll their eyes at Flandre, saying that she's one-dimensional and underdeveloped by canon, to the point where I've even heard of a bit of bigotry towards Flandre fans. One such prejudice I have heard of is that all Flandre fans have supposedly found Touhou through mech-roll, as if that is a bad thing. Why exactly would it be? To all of it I have to say, please don't cultivate such factioning. Just let Flandre fans be Flandre fans, don't be unfair, give everyone a chance. I'm saying that as someone who really doesn't rank Flandre any higher than most of the competition. Sorry, I simply needed to get that off my chest before we reach the 20th sublevel, the arena of our previous showdown. It's pretty obvious that Touhou Koukishin's Flandre is very unlike the canonical one, who has been curled up in the basement for 495 years and made it her domain. If to anyone, the labyrinth belongs to Patchouli. I guess I have to take back a few things I said about her. She's not been such an unmoving great sits on her ass after all. I think she's been secretly working on her own agenda. Flandre begs her to help her flee from the labyrinth, but Patchouli starts giving arguments instead. I get a feeling she does not want Flandre to get involved in what is currently going on. She would surely go searching for the monster if given the chance, but the young lady is not known for being the most reliable. I suppose we have to enforce our will with violence once again. The only thing different about this Patchouli battle to the old one is that she uses a new and exclusive opening spell card. It can be tricky to dodge, but it helps to flap Flandre's wings to maximize your airtime. After all, you are safe in the air. Apart from that, Patchouli fights just as she has in the past. Since this mage loves expelling us from melee range, our most important tool will be the wide-swinging Levitate skill. Levitate, by the way, also cancels out most incoming bullets. It is neat. Break Shot can help a little here as well, but its worth as a ranged attack is not so striking that we'll be relying much on it. We have the advantage that we are familiar with Patchouli's patterns, but even if we weren't, I can repeat what I have been saying for the whole episode. Flandre's flashback is not meant to be challenging. We hit so hard, and our durability gives us so much room for error, one can barely lose this. If you've made it this far, you're not going to give up at Flandre's flashback. Before it started, the game gave us a warning that saving will not be possible for a while. This message might make you feel uneasy, but with a while, they mean until after this fight, which is like 15 minutes from the start. 15 minutes in which you can't return to the world map. I can't imagine why you would want to. One more blow and the opposing magician is down for the count. With that, Flandre should have the authority to command Patchouli. However, things wouldn't add up if she did. Patchouli is indeed the one person who can transport people in and out of the labyrinth, including herself. She seems to be having the upper hand with this ability. It must be an instant teleportation where she just goes plop and she's gone. Otherwise, I can't understand how she can still dare to defy Flandre. In conclusion, our victory here was meaningless. Flandre will be stranded with only the vague promise that someone will pick her up later. In an upcoming line, she basically says that she'll bash the next unfortunate person's face in that she sees. Said person to become this punching bag was the completely innocent Sakuya. She really did nothing wrong, but that is the tragic life of our maid. Alright, so now you know the story of Flandre's imprisonment. Not the torturous 495-year one, but more like a weekend. Really sounds a bit underwhelming if you say it like that. For our efforts, we are given another Demon Blade Levitate. This is a fixed drop of this exact weapon, and it's likely the first one you will get. In our case, it wasn't too exciting. So, what now? Could this have been it? No, not quite. There is still more to do. Now that Flandre is safely back at the mansion, we can replay the Kappa factory, and something will be different. It's not the stage design, nor the strength of the enemies. Nothing here is really threatening or even worth our attention, so I just cut out most of the continuous bunny hopping until we get to Suika. Again, this is what the majority of a speedrun for this game looks like, when there are no clever doors in the way. With another jump cut, we are once again at the final fight, which is also no different. I used this opportunity to show you Sakuya's Levitate. It is badass and happens almost instantly as said. One more hit, and since the game knows we have beaten the post-game, Sakuya's and Suika's exchange takes an unknown turn. She does not declare herself defeated. She's actually far from it, as this scene proves to us. I told you Suika possessed unimaginable power that she only chose not to use against us. Now that she has grown Godzilla-sized, I honestly think we as a tiny maid can no longer win this. Our deadly knives will be like toothpicks to her. Man, oh man, what are we supposed to do here? But wait, do we have a mysterious savior? We do in fact. It is all of our friends, including the recruited fairy trio. They're a sight for sore eyes, although I'm a bit worried about Star Sapphire. She must have eaten spoonfuls of sugar because I cannot see the white of her eyes anymore. Anyway, they may all be equally ineffective against Suika the way they are, but Remilia and Patchouli have been working on a special plot. We saw hints of their secret weapon during our trek through the labyrinth, as well as our time as Flandre. It is a fully operational combat mecha in a custom design. Perhaps this guy can teach Suika some respect and get her off her high horse. We don't know about Suika yet, but for a start, someone else seems impressed by the Crimson God. Yes, the villainous Sanae and Nitori are still around, being somewhat irrelevant. On second thought, they don't seem happy about what they're seeing. Tough luck, Nitori. There is no copyright in Gensokyo, nor any lawyers to help you sue. In a couple of seconds, Suika will bring up a good point. The Hisoten Soku we fought as a boss was kind of crappy. What's going to make this one a match for someone as powerful as her? Maybe it has a zero system installed for that extra bit of pilot performance. If so, I really wish we had Flandre right now. She'd be perfect for the job. I doubt she can get that much crazier. No, it is just that Patchouli can imbue the mecha with magic. Will this be enough? Let us wait and listen. I really wish there was a third phase to the final fight, but all we are getting are the sounds of a good clobbering. It seems our mecha was kind of terrible after all. Look at the shape it's in. Luckily, it doesn't matter, as Suika has changed her mind and pretends to have lost. She never really wanted to win in the first place, it was not her goal. In truth, she only desired media exposure. Guess what? The showdown between Jaeger and Kaiju was meant as an entertainment event. That's right, Touhou Koukishin basically had a pro wrestling plot. Everyone knew of it too, everyone except Sakuya. This revelation will also silence all the panic at the human village. It's been a long time since we've seen one of Aya's newspapers. I want to draw your attention to one of the small headlines. Moria Shrine making reparations for damages caused. I get a feeling Ankakespa does not favor Sanae. She cannot catch a break, can she? As a result of the crisis, Suika gets her own festival stall. This seems to make her very happy. This scene of someone smiling under illumination reminds me of many animes. It's what you see when a good guy decides to sacrifice themselves for the group about 2 seconds before they blow up. Of course, Suika does not blow up, she is fine. And that was most of the extended, true ending to Touhou Koukishin. You get it for finishing the labyrinth. Seeing the Flandre flashback event is not actually required. It may not be, but would you have wanted to miss it? I certainly wouldn't have. Some of the lines from the Untrue Endings festival scene have stayed the same. Most have been exchanged. It comes down to two major differences. One is that Flandre can also attend later. Mei Ling is currently in the process of fetching her. The other is that Suika is not branded a villain, and instead of having to shamefully sit in a distant corner, she is around somewhere having fun. There is a third difference, I guess, which is that Gensokyo's culture has embraced building-sized monster battles. Good for them. When measured on other video games, the differences between the quote-unquote bad and good endings of Touhou Koukishin are not very striking. There are some bad endings that are just glorified game overs, as in, the world burns despite your efforts anyway. I can think of one of those. I don't want to mention it by full name though. Other things can happen in a bad ending. A certain popular RPG, for example, gives you the choice to die a heroic death. You won't if you have a specific DLC, but if you don't, you're just dead at the end. Not a satisfying conclusion if I've ever seen one. There were no casualties in this Let's Play. We did assume Remilia and the fairy trio to be very dead for a while, but that was just me teasing you. One thing I am a little blue about is that we weren't allowed to control the Crimson God against Godzilla Suika. A new control scheme would have been needed for it, and who knows, it might have sucked. We got to play as Flandre instead, and she felt excellent. We shouldn't be sad. Alright, this is it. While I have promised to make a bonus episode featuring this and that, this formally concludes our Let's Play. Sakuya's quest has gone from start to finish, and she has saved the day. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I am very happy to have made this Let's Play, and I hope you enjoyed it too, both at its peaks as well as during its less eventful segments. I was worried sometimes that I wouldn't be able to make it interesting beyond the gameplay itself, that I would literally run out of things to say at some point. Somehow, it worked out in the end, and I also didn't notice any major plummets of interest at any point, so that's fine. I've got a few more words about the mentioned bonus episode. It will mostly contain Remilia, how she plays, and what is different to Sakuya. I also have to confess that it will take a while until I make it. Not only do I still need to actually finish Remilia's postgame, but there's also a somewhat forced hiatus coming my way. The thing is, I am moving at the end of January. It is high time I got off my butt in that matter, and if I keep playing games and making videos instead, there would be some very annoyed new owners at my doorstep, and I'd still be sitting on all of my possessions. That would not just be embarrassing for me, but very problematic too. It pains me to take another break so close to wrapping everything up, but I've got this breathing down my neck. That's the way it is. Like I said, expect the bonus sometime in February. I'm Gesh86, this was Touhou Koukishin. I hope you enjoyed the postgame in its entirety, its difficulties, but also its surprises. Next time, a vampire that hates the sunlight but loves the spotlight. Bis bald!